welcome back to Reed's Reads. I'm, of course, your host, Ryan Reed, creator and webmaster of the Uncanny Comic Book Reader blog. Please come check us out over at Blogspot, please. So, you're probably wondering, I just did an Avengers. What am I talking about? Well, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, there are a lot of other comic book characters that are giving lots of chances in their own books. We have Vibe now, Katana. Of course, we have Alpha. I'll get into that later. And a few others. So I find it kind of interesting now that after all these years that both the big companies such as Marvel and DC have started following suit a little bit more similar to Image Comics or Top Cow, where they've decided to start focusing more on the secondary characters and giving them a good trial run. This truly is a pretty good, if you ask my opinion, because I've always had various comic book characters I always thought were, had a big enough fan base, or at least should have had a chance to support their own books and everything. I mean, one of the most successful stories in the last year has, of course, been Scarlet Spider, as well as the new Venom, which is, of course, Flash Thompson. Have their own series here in the last 2 years, which have actually proved very successful. Of course, as we all know, they're extension of the Spider title, so similar to extension of the Avengers titles, where there's so many of them. They're given that push in that way. But of course, we have to remember that usually there is a following of some sort, at least a character that writers and editors want to take a chance at. Now, most recent now with the news, of course, of Vibe and Katana getting their own series in light of the new Justice League of America series in February. I mean, we are definitely looking at some interesting things for Vibe because he's never had his own series. He's been a very interesting character. He's had his own fan base. Popular, no. Horrible, no. But this is a very interesting chance to take such a chance on a character like this when we've still been waiting for Cyborg. Here we are over a year in DC New, and Cyborg has been prompt in the new Justice League as well as talking other titles. Has yet to get his own series. So it does make you kind of wonder what's going on in that neck of the woods. Why books like Red Lanterns and Static Shock have had chances, but Red Lanterns, of course, outdid Static Shock. Of course, over Marvel, we also have the new Alpha series coming out in February, which is actually a mini. But as we all know, the character is pretty detested. He's not really enjoyable. But the writer of I, Vampire is, of course, taking over as writer. And he definitely has an interesting take, basically saying, what would happen if Alpha, which is, of course, is a teenage character that all of a sudden realizes he caused more harm than good. And all of a sudden he starts having powers again. Well, I have to say that's actually a good take. It was similar to when Jackpot did a couple years ago with the character when all of a sudden she was kind of did this decision, try to get rid of responsibility, and the character died because of her, but her becoming a hero again kind of led to, the death of her husband, changing her identity, and kind of disappeared off into obscurity. I mean, in cases like Alpha, maybe, but, you got a character that really people aren't really that interested in, even though you have a great creative team and an interesting concept. But unfortunately, I don't see things good for Alpha. But of course, what about Katana and Vibe? Well, I think they're going to have a little support since Katana has been around for the last year in Birds of Prey. And me being a fan of Katana, that definitely gets to the point. Vibe, like I said, it depends. They're giving them kind of a new spin on things. And while it'll be a bit in Justice League of America come February, it's kind of similar to what they're doing now with the new Green Lantern, Simon Baz, as well as the return of Stargirl, as well as focusing on some other things with Hawkman and a few other characters. You have a fan base built in, or a character that definitely piques interest. And they're giving them a chance with more of a bigger roster or a bigger exposure in this case with these own series. So I have to say it's actually a good step in the right direction. I mean, one reason Image Comics become as big as they did is they took chances on series. Now look, Walking Dead, Invincible, these were series that really kind of had a hard chance, but an interesting concept that have now become, very popular, very enjoyable, hit TV show. I mean, they're a good way of taking chances. I'm actually happy the industry is taking more chances out on characters like this. So I wish them all the best, and hopefully they will surprise us in 2013. So in the meantime, I think I will call it for this Reads Reads. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful November and a great Thanksgiving, and I will check you out for the end of the year wrap-up. See you later.